Hey everyone, it's Chuck Haddad again from the Lynch Law Group. I wanted to go over a timely topic this time of year, and it's regarding income tax. But in my world, we deal with the concept or the topic called fiduciary income tax, which is reporting income tax earned by a trust. So if you're a beneficiary of a trust or you're the trustee of a trust, you might have the question, how does a trust report its income and what is it required to do? Well, to answer that question, it's going to depend on the type of trust it is. Typically, if it's a revocable trust or if it meets certain provisions that give what we call the creator of the trust, who's also known as the grantor of the trust, control in a manner under the Internal Revenue Code that will qualify as what's called a grantor trust. Those trusts typically will report their income on any accounts that are titled in that trust on the personal return for the grantor. Therefore, all of the income is reported at the grantor's personal tax rate, both at the federal and sometimes state level. Depends on if that state recognizes grantor trusts. So that's all covered under Section 671 of the Internal Revenue Code. And there's a few other Sections 674 that specify what qualifies as a grantor trust and not. If it's not a grantor trust and it's irrevocable, typically it can be considered what's called a non-grantor trust, which it will file its own tax return separate from the beneficiary. And it operates similar to like a business or a small business from a tax reporting standpoint. It passes through its income to its beneficiary, typically, if the terms permit it. And as a result, it will sweep the income to the beneficiary on something called a Schedule K-1. So a fiduciary income tax return that gets reported by a trust is filed with the federal government or the Internal Revenue Service. That's a Form 1041. Your state will have its own separate fiduciary return, most likely. In Pennsylvania, it has a PA 41, which is a subtle difference from the personal returns, which filed at the federal level at Form 1040 or at the PA level 40. The trust fiduciary returns will pass through the income, typically, if it is a pass-through trust, to its beneficiary, so it's only effectively reporting tax at the personal rate or a personal level. Now, not all trusts actually pass out income. Some of them accumulate and pay tax at the trust level. Those are called accumulation trusts. Sometimes we see that with a special needs trust that is designed to not pass out income so that it doesn't hinder the beneficiary's entitlement benefits for SSI or medical assistance. So it really depends on the trust. But why most trusts, if they are filing its own tax return, sweep out income is because trusts have very narrow tax brackets. Fiduciary income tax brackets are very narrow. For instance, in 2024, if a trust earns more than $15,200, it will be taxed at the 37% tax bracket for any income that exceeds that amount, which is pretty small when you compare it to the personal income tax brackets, which are far more broad. To hit that same tax bracket at the federal level on a single filing return, you have to, in 2024, earn over $609,000, or if you're a married filing joint, over $731,000 approximately. Those are the 2024 brackets. In 2025, the IRS has announced the inflation adjustments to those brackets. For instance, the trust and estates top tax bracket is now $15,650. So why I point that out is if you're not familiar with how your trust is reporting income, or if you have questions related to how your trust is reporting the income, whether that's proper or can you take steps to minimize the income tax on that earned income, please do not hesitate to give us a call. This time of year, we're fielding those questions all the time. We help a lot of families with their trust tax preparation and also work alongside their accountants in handling these questions. The end goal is typically to do what's best in line with the trust and to minimize tax if possible. But there's a lot of intricacies with this area of tax reporting, so it's important to make sure you have a professional on your side if you're a trustee or if you're a beneficiary, to make sure that that income is being reported properly by the trust or by you, if it can minimize tax for the overall best interest. Feel free to give us a call if you have questions. Phone number 724-776-8000. Thank you.